My name is Dr. Sebastian Mahfood. I'm Director of Distance Learning at Holy Apostles College and Seminary in Cromwell, Connecticut. This presentation, entitled Developing Your MOOC, is intended to provide an explanation of the fundamentals of content modulation, discussion prompt creation, and quiz design. The system on which we're going to do these things in this course will be advanced360.com, but the method is exportable to your own learning management system. There are two essential features to any learning management system. The first is that it serves as a repository for disciplinary content, and the second is that it provides a commons within which course participants may gather for discussion. All other things within a learning management system, including especially assessment functions for both content and discussion, flow from these two features. For that reason, all learning management systems are basically the same at their most fundamental level. Where they differ is how they enable these two things to happen. Taking Advanced360 as our model, we see it functions as a repository in the way in which it enables the user to package materials for student consumption. When you enter the site in order to retrieve your content, you see a Lessons tab, a module link, and content within the module. It's on the basis of this posted content that assessment can occur in the form of objective quizzes, which are computer graded, or discussion board prompts, which are instructor graded if a grade is to be assigned at all for them. As a commons, or meeting place, Advanced360 provides a discussion forum with a way to contain all discussions on a given module within its own forum, and all discussions that transcend any given module as separate threads outside of a given forum. This asynchronous method, or method that allows students and teachers to interact with one another at different times of the day, is different from a synchronous method, which would require all participants to be on the computer at the same time. We'll talk about synchronous methods in the third module on implementation. Our first step then, once we have our semester activity figured out, is to prepare content that can assist the learner in the completion of the activity. The quick and easy way to measure student understanding of the content is to post a short quiz at the end of each component or module. Concerning the activity itself, we want to first break it down into its component parts. One of my 4-credit courses, for instance, asks the students to identify a research question and create a 5 to 7-page research paper or 25 to 30-slide research presentation concerning one aspect of the topic. I line my due dates up beginning week 4 by asking the students to think about research questions they'd like to answer, then week 7 by asking for an annotated bibliography, then week 11 by asking for their paper or presentation, then week 12 by asking for a peer review, then week 14 by asking for a live in-class presentation, which we accomplish with video conferencing software. Finally, we want to create a rubric that explains our expectations for a successful outcome on the activity, and the rubric we create should start by our drawing from the learning outcomes of the course. Quizzes and other similar forms of assessment that are computer graded need to be designed at the lowest level of complexity to demonstrate competency in the materials. If we're dealing with intellectual formation alone, we might consider using Bloom's taxonomy as a measure of competency, since it's generally useful for developing assessments. If I'm designing assessments for undergraduates, I keep close to the knowledge and comprehension categories. If for master's students, I open it up to application and analysis. If for doctoral students, I open it up further to synthesis and evaluation. If we're dealing with intellectual, human, and spiritual formation, I use Schulman's Table of Learning. See the link I created for it at the bottom of this slide, or just Google the name for his description of it. Because it combines both the cognitive and affective goals into a single table. Bloom also has an affective table, but it's not a part of his cognitive table. In a MOOC, discussion forums are generally not graded. They're useful primarily for engaging the participants within the course in conversation over the materials they are studying, for the purpose of forming a community of learners who can help one another resolve their own issues. An instructor in a large MOOC setting is not going to be able to monitor all the discussion in any case, though in a small MOOC setting, he or she may make an effort at it. The general principle at play, then, for discussion forums that are not graded, is that people may not participate in them. We show what we value, after all, by what we measure. Most MOOCs may measure only the quizzes that can be computer graded and place no measurement value in the discussion board. Participants in any discussion in a setting where that is the case really are there only to help one another and learn from one another. Some post simply to demonstrate their erudition, while others post because they see a question to which they can easily and effectively respond. For our purposes, since we're small colleges seeking to make the most of our MOOCs in order to advance our institutional missions, and possibly our own chances at institutional advancement, we're going to say that we want to create both kinds of content-based discussion. We want to call students to respond to particular questions, and we want to give students free range to discuss their own topics and even share their own materials. We can also say that we want our students to interact with one another in plenary discussion, and, depending upon how we organize the content for their consumption around the particular ways in which we expect them to respond to the activity, we additionally want them to interact with one another in small group settings on special topical boards. Our next lesson deals with MOOC implementation. You've already learned in our first module how to design your MOOC, and this module has considered how to develop it. The final module after implementation will consider how to market it. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to meeting you again on the discussion board.